Audience, let's approach the subject of what makes muscles grow beyond normal levels like a good exercise scientist might. Now, you have to use your imagination here because I have yet to meet a good exercise scientist, but just use your imagination a little bit. Having observed innumerable bodybuilders and strength athletes work out, the alleged good exercise scientist concludes that there has to be something about the workout. He looks at these guys training. There has to be some variable, some element, something he can identify and say, hey, look, this particular thing, that's what makes muscles grow, right? There has to be, why do you lift weights? There has to be something about the lifting of weights, something you can isolate and identify and say, hey, this is the growth stimulus. Logical? What could it be? What is it about the workout that causes the muscle to actually grow? How does he find out? Where does the good exercise scientist launch his investigation? Well, the most likely place is to start by looking at one of the more readily observed qualities or attributes about the things that exist in reality, which is quantity, the volume, the number. In this context, of course, the exercise scientist would concern himself with the number of sets being performed. Since people who perform no weight training exercise possess little muscles or muscles of normal size, and those who do lift weights possess larger muscles, maybe, just perhaps, maybe growth stimulation is directly related to the volume of the exercise. In order to test his hypothesis, or hypothesis as Arthur Jones pronounced it, I'm not sure what the correct pronunciation is, the hypothesis, in order to test his hypothesis, the good exercise scientist observes numerous individuals training over a period of time during which the volume of the exercise grows progressively greater and greater. But something is terribly wrong beyond a definite limited point. Increased volume results in a complete lack of progress. And any further increase in volume, the subjects inevitably, in every case, grow weaker and their muscles atrophy. So, what may have initially appeared obvious now is not so obvious. The growth stimulus cannot be directly related to the volume, to the quantity of the training effort. Or, if it was, the training subjects who train the most would have the biggest muscles. While the notion that more is better is attractive in its simplicity, it just doesn't work. Let's look for a moment, audience. Let's take a moment and examine the implicit logic in that idea. More is better means literally that. More is better means what? More is better means fucking more is better. You can't fail. There's a built-in guarantee. It's so obvious to certain of us in here, we wonder why the rest of the world can't grasp it. More is better means more is better. There's a built-in guarantee. You cannot fail. If 20 sets are good, if 20 sets give you good results, then why stop there? 40 will give you even better, and 80 even better still, and 120 better still, and just keep training on to infinity. Just take off of work for 3 months, train 18 hours a day, and in 3 months you'll look like Dorian Yates. We'll all succeed. As I'm wont to say in many of my recent articles, the science of productive bodybuilding exercise, for Christ's sakes, is not infinitely complex, but there's a lot more to it than the childlike notion of Joe Weider's more is better. For Joe Weider, more money is better than less. Then in his brilliant thinking he concludes, well, since more money is better than less, more training has to be better than less. In fact, that one idea has actually hurt Joe himself and the whole bodybuilding, fitness, and nutritional supplement industry. More bodybuilders quit training than stay with it because they try the idea more is better, and after 2 years of no results, they say, I'm either morally deficient, I'm suffering from some who knows what, I can't make it, I'm just going to give up. The most important issue in bodybuilding is that there is a right way to train. Only if people train properly and make progress are the people involved. People like me selling books, doing articles, people selling supplements, are we going to make more money? If half the people who get involved in bodybuilding every decade fall out the next decade, we got to keep drumming up more business. right? So there you are, the obvious canoeing, the monumental absurdity of the volume argument, all wrapped up in a singular, childlike, stupid notion that more is better. As I tell some of my phone clients, the idea more is better only has validity when it comes to money and pretty girls. It has very little or nothing to do with exercise. The idea that more is better is erroneous, illogical, irrational, non-productive, counterproductive, and on a lesser level, stupid, inane, absurd. It's ridiculous. Look about you, audience, in the gym. Everyone who engages in exercise or athletic training of any sort performs, of course, has to do a certain amount of volume. But if volume was the key in and of itself, the stimulus responsible for triggering growth, those who perform the most exercise in every case would have the largest muscles. And we all know that ain't true. I know people who train for hours, literally hours a day, for years. I know one phone client trained for 7 years using every variation of the volume approach from weeder to serious growth to whatever. And he did get a little bit stronger, but even his girlfriend said, his name is Ali, he said, "Ali, you just have not built any muscle in 7 years." The vast majority of bodybuilders do fail to achieve your goals, and probably, I would guesstimate that 99% of you in here are frustrated too. How many of you in here, looking back over the last year or two or three, adding up the hundreds, even thousands of hours of blood, sweat, and tears, can honestly say that you got a proper return on your investment? One person. You must be a high-intensity trainer. Yeah, that's 2 of you. 2 rational individuals. But we're not giving up on the rest of you, even though we seem like pricks. We're very loving people. We do care about the future of the world. We like to have you be part of it. Yes, everyone and anyone who exercises, whether it's aerobically, anaerobically, athletically, or otherwise, has to perform some volume of exercise. But it may be any volume. As a side note here, later in my talk, I will logically demonstrate that, in fact, the issue of volume, number of sets, is a negative factor. Literally, truly, I'm not speaking metaphorically. The issue of volume, number of sets, in bodybuilding exercise science, and Brian is one of the few people who really understands this, is literally a negative. Even one set. Doing one set represents a negative factor, but we'll go into that later. The vast majority who exercise typically do so for 1 hour. Why 1 hour? Well, most of us conveniently schedule our lives by the hour. We watch Laverne and Shirley by the hour. We get paid by the hour. We go to the psychiatrist by the hour. Therefore, it's only logical. Let's train by the hour. Of course, I'm being facetious. Most people do train by the hour. Yet such doesn't invariably result in the same or similar or even any muscular mass increases. So, where do we now turn to discover the variable? What is that one thing about the exercise, the workout? Where do we now look to discover the element responsible for stimulating growth?